Today I'm going to be doing a 2028 election prediction, DeSantis against Kamala Harris, assuming Trump wins 2024 based off of my former prediction. I generally think that DeSantis would be the candidate to move on and run in 2028. I put Kari Lake as his running mate. I wasn't really sure who to put. I think Lake would be a good, well, I think she'll be a good president someday as well if she ever decides to run. And for Harris, seems the Democratic pool of candidates is quite weak, quite non-existent. And that being said, all they really have is Harris, and that's not a very good choice. And then on top of that, I put Newsom as the running mate. I didn't really know who to put. It kind of seems like he might have presidential ambitions someday, so I thought I'd put him. Now, we'll start this like most predictions, fill out the safe states as usual, except for this one. I'm going to put that back in toss-up. So no real surprises with any of these, except for Ohio and Iowa. I think they'll be safe by 2028 with trends. It makes sense that they probably will. Alaska as well. Now, the safe Democrat states, DC, these are all obviously going to stay safe. I would be surprised if they didn't, and I think Colorado will probably be safe by then as well, and Hawaii. And then, no. Okay, so from this point, we can now generally see where this election would go. Now, we have to consider trends. There are the trends of the Mexican Latino voters that are shifting to the right. Those will obviously help in more southern states and Florida as well, especially with Cuban voters, which vote overwhelmingly Republican compared to most other groups because of their issues with communism where they came from. They don't like seeing what they're seeing with the Democrat Party, so they vote Republican in turn. And then a lot of the Mexican communities on the southern border near Texas, and I believe a bit in Arizona as well, are also shifting to the right a little bit. Trump also won a larger portion than most Republicans ever have of the black vote in 2020. So assuming those trends continue to some extent going into 2024, then 2028, we can see some gains in kind of this area and potentially up here a little bit, maybe not a whole lot, but the other areas that were shifting right come starting in 2016 with Trump, and then DeSantis being a similar candidate to Trump, not as controversial, not as, aggressive. He doesn't attack the media the same way, but he's kind of seen as the successor to Trump. So he's going to have similar appeal in that regard. So that being said, I'll fill out the states that I think will probably be likely. I'll do likely Republican states first. Florida at this point will be likely for sure. Now, Texas, if the Mexican voters continue to trend despite the Austin suburbs and core of the city shifting to the left, I do see Texas going likely for now, but that's only if the Latino trends continue to the right going into 2028. On top of that, I don't know if there are any other. No. I think Wisconsin will probably be pretty close to safe by this point as well. Not safe, pretty close to likely, maybe lean, but I'm going to put it as likely for now. And this is safe. Not that's safe. I can't click on that. This, I'll put that as likely. Other likely Dem states will probably be Minnesota. Minnesota, Virginia, and I think that's probably it. Now, it's gonna get closer. A lot of states are trending both left and right, so states are getting a lot closer, and most of them will be in lean margins from this point on. They're all kind of swing states. So At this point, Nevada will have shifted even further to the right. It's shifting quite hard to the right now. And I do think it'll be not a very, very Republican conservative place, but it will shift to the right enough that it'll stay in the Republican column for a while. Same goes for Michigan. I think it'll be probably at that point by 2028. The entire Rust Belt is shifting to the right, especially with Trump-type candidates, Trump himself being the one that started that trend, and same for Pennsylvania. And then from that point, Georgia that'll probably be, with the Atlanta suburbs, it will go to the left. It'll shift further and further to the left. It really doesn't matter. That state is on its way out. 2024 is easily the last year a Republican could win that state. There's a very rare chance, but I don't see DeSantis winning it. And even if we go based on the current electoral results right now, it would be a complete equal split if Democrats win the rest of these with Harris. Another thing to consider with this election is Harris is not a popular candidate or a popular person. She's not liked by pretty much anyone. She has horrible approval numbers. She has a horrifying laugh, and she really just laughs off any question she gets because she's a diversity hire. That's all she is. She doesn't know anything. She's wholly unqualified for her job. Unqualified for her job. She doesn't know what she's doing. So that's not going to help her. Now, New Mexico, I think, will probably be in that category as well. I don't think it's a Republican state. I don't think it will be for a while. If anytime soon it is, but it's close. Now, Arizona, I was originally going to give Arizona to the Democrats in 2028, but with Kari Lake and Blake Masters likely being the senator and the governor of the state by the end of the midterms, and the trends potentially reversing in Arizona, despite immigration from California, a lot of those immigrants are kind of conservatives. The more liberal ones are moving to these states or Colorado. So with that being said, Kari Lake, if she's on the ticket, would also help in Arizona, it being her home state. So I do see this going in a tilt margin Republican again. It is probably going to shift to the right, but to the left, but it's very possible the state could start shifting back to the right slowly, assuming Kari Lake and Blake Masters do a good job. And with that alone, DeSantis wins the election and Republicans win. Now, the last few states, North Carolina is absurdly stagnant. It's probably going to be lean, maybe tilt. It was close. I think it was about 1.5% in 2020, but I think the state has shifted slightly back to the right. 2020 was a blue wave year. Now, 2024, and I think by 2028, it'll shift back to the right. I also think at this point, unless they can get a better candidate, well, if they get a better candidate, the Democrat Party will have shifted back to the right a bit. But assuming Newsom and Harris are the ones running, it has not. So with that being said, I do think Nebraska's district will probably, I think Democrats win that tilt. I think Harris wins it. And New Hampshire is a weird state. I don't think I can see DeSantis winning it, so it'll probably go tilt. I think it'll go tilt for Harris. Yeah, it'll go tilt. It is an anti-incumbent state, but the incumbent won't be running, assuming it was Trump who ran in 2024. Now, if DeSantis is the one who ends up running in 2024, the incumbent rhetoric won't help in the state. It's also quite libertarian. DeSantis isn't really seen as a libertarian, neither is Trump, which is why I don't see the state going Republican, at least not yet. It's possible. I do think slowly these more northern states are going to start shifting to the right, as some of these states around here, other than Florida, some of these states in this area are probably going to start shifting to the left a bit, while this area, the Northeast and the Rust Belt, are shifting to the right. But that's the map. Those are the final results. I do think DeSantis would win this. It's not as big of a margin as what I see Trump probably pulling off, because, well, the only real difference is Georgia, I guess that's the biggest difference in the map. Georgia going back to the Democrats, I don't think it's winnable anymore for Republicans with the Atlanta suburbs. The state has shifted so far to the left. It's possible it reversed trends, but with the fast-growing suburbs, it's not likely. So that's the prediction. DeSantis wins it over Kamala Harris in 2028. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. I do post regular content. I post 3 times a week if possible, or sometimes I'll post extra content if there's an important election or information coming up on any upcoming primaries or the midterms, which are also fast approaching. If you want to see other content from me, I do post on Twitter and Instagram and Truth Social quite consistently. The links I will have in the description of this video, so if you want, you can go down there to click on those to look at any extra content I create. Let me know in the comments what you think about 2028, who you think the candidates will be, and who you think would win in each of those scenarios, depending on who would run. Anyways, that's all for now. I hope you guys have a good night.